When you first watch The Florida Project, it hits you with an immediate sense of wonder. Kids are running around, laughing, spitting on cars. It looks like the opening of some silly sitcom. You know, innocent, playful, mischievous. And the colors, the walls, the motels, all the purples, pinks, blues are so pastel and so perfectly Disney adjacent. Everything feels magical. Like you've stepped into a candy-colored daydream. For a second, you might think, oh, this is fun, just cute, just a child's world. But here's the thing, that's exactly what director Sean Baker wants you to think. The magic is a bit of a lie. The film is visually presenting one story, innocence, adventure, whimsy, but the narrative underneath is telling a very different story about survival, neglect, and the harsh realities of poverty. The sheer brightness of the visuals work to actively throw us off, and they might conceal the fact that from the very beginning that Baker is showing us a bitter, difficult living situation. We almost get used to the sweetness, which makes the eventual shock all the more devastating, and that's the argument we're going to follow in this video. The Florida Project isn't just a sad story told with bright colors. It's a satire, a tragedy disguised as a comedy. We'll explore how the visual aesthetic is a lens for a sharp, structural satire, and how the children's perspectives makes the cruel absurdity of their world so unforgettable. Let's start with the most obvious visual cue. The Florida Project looks like a Florida tourism brochure. The saturation is cranked high enough to feel artificial. The pastel palette is lifted straight from Disney marketing. The framing is often soft, harmless, almost whimsical. It looks magical, but the magic is fake on purpose, because when you zoom out, this aesthetic isn't beautiful, it's completely sarcastic. The film dresses poverty in fairy tale colors to expose a contradiction. Orlando sells itself as the happiest place on earth, yet the families living right outside those gates are scrapping just to survive. This is Sean Baker attacking the fantasy industry without ever delivering a speech. The comedy isn't the kids' mischief. The comedy is the lie America tells about this place. The visuals are not just decoration. They are the argument. Every obstacle that comes in Mooney's way, her mom can't pay rent, their power is shut off, is like the film screaming that this child is living a very hard life, yet the cinematography is expertly shifting our attention. It makes us think that we're experiencing some kind of magical story, exactly as the poster probably promises. This movie literally looks like a Florida tourism ad, but it's not the beauty that's trying to capture. It's the sarcasm. The wide-angle lenses in this movie are doing double duty. They don't just stretch the space, they create a delusion. The wide angles make the cramped temporary motel units feel enormous, like the space is perfectly adequate for a family. It makes us think, there's nothing wrong with this. This deliberate distortion is a critique of the system itself. Furthermore, the film's framing often leans into the aesthetic of a cheap sitcom. There are a lot of static shots and bright setups, and the characters are mostly framed like comedic archetypes. The blocking often turns arguments and moments of domestic tension into slapstick or simple comedic moments. This becomes another insidious reason why we mostly don't take the arguments or crisis as seriously as we should, and why we might be slow to judge Haley even though she's kind of failing as a mother. For example, when the kids sneak into the utility room, we sympathize with the kids because they're kids. They don't even know the danger. But it's Haley's reaction that's absurdly bad, and it kind of should throw us off. When she finds out, her response is,
God, this is unacceptable. I failed as a mother, Mooney. You've disgraced me.
It's not an action plan. It's a moment of performative guilt, immediately followed by casual neglect. This comedic framing here makes it easy for us, the viewer, to dismiss it just as another funny, messy parenting moment, rather than a genuine crisis of irresponsibility. The core of satire, though, is built in the sharp contrast between Mooney's mother, Haley, and her neighbor, Ashley. Ashley has a job. She worries, she takes responsibilities. Haley spins around between different hustles to provide the bare minimum. And when things get really bad, she starts selling herself. This contrast is never sharper than during the abandoned condo scene. The children set the condos on fire. The visuals, as usual, support the dreamy idea that this is just innocent children playing. But Haley and Ashley react in two different ways. Ashley takes it seriously. She worries about a DCF intervention and losing Scooty. Haley doesn't even suspect Mooney's involvement, as everything else is just a joke and a fun hobby to her. She takes Mooney there to take a few pictures. Here's a detail. Both Scooty and Mooney are stressed. Mooney isn't in her usual cheerful status when Haley is taking pictures of her. Ashley notices immediately that something is stressing her kid out, but Haley doesn't. She never understands why Ashley suddenly changes, and the visual choices don't just show poverty, but the immaturity and blindness of a parent who's supposed to be navigating this world for her child. And it only gets worse. The climax of the film's crisis is the moment Mooney stays in the bathroom while Haley is with a stranger. This is the moment the visuals become a lie. We can no longer accept that lie. We see how deeply unfair Haley is to her child. And as a role model, the only thing she's teaching Mooney is to lie, defraud people, and get money in every way possible. The playful aesthetic of the movie remains throughout, but the weight of the story finally breaks through. Finally, the daydream collapses. And here we are, the ending. The Disneyland ending. And honestly, this is where the satire, the visual, the story, everything, it all hits at once. Throughout the film, the camera has been polished, sweet, and mischievous. But in the final moments, all that changes. The candy-colored fantasy that's been guiding us for the whole movie disappears. And suddenly, the camera goes handheld. It becomes chaotic, unpolished, and raw. We follow Mooney as she runs, running not just towards Disney World, but towards an idea of escape. Disney is probably the highest place that sells dreams, and not only does it sell dreams, it sells them specifically to children. It is this sharp contrast that is the theme of this movie. These children are drowning in a world of chaos, living in a city with a Disney-themed park and a company that's selling them an unattainable dream, something like, a dream is a wish your heart makes. It's like the film is a cotton candy lie that finally gets punched through. We know this escape probably never happened in reality. We know this moment is messy. We are hoping alongside Mooney that she would have been there, that she would have experienced something a child is promised to experience in a world designed around fantasy. This film makes the visual sweetness a lens for critique, for satire, for empathy. The Florida Project looks like a dream, but it feels like a heartbreak, and that right there is Sean Baker's quiet, devastating satire. If you want to see entirely different approaches to visual storytelling, one that trades pastel colors for intense golden colors, then make sure to click the link right here to watch my analysis for Whiplash. We dive deep into how Damien Chazelle uses lighting and cinematography to turn a music room into a psychological pressure. And I'll see you next time.